Hello, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be dealing with a topic that none of us can avoid, and that topic is death. Whether it be suicide, tragedy, old age, or health conditions that separates us from the person or people we love. So, how do we deal with it? How do we cope? How do we move on? Um, so in this video, I'm going to try to help walk you through the stages of grief and some options to help you cope and deal with loss in a healthy way and help you move forward. Death hits us, and something we're never really prepared for. Don't know exactly how to deal with the pain or go on after they pass. The memories and questions often haunt us for the rest of our lives. So how do you deal with loss or suicide? Unfortunately, there's no foolproof answer. What works for me may be detrimental to you or anybody else, and vice versa. The one thing I do know is that escapism in its various forms is not the answer. You cannot find answers at the bottom of a bottle of alcohol or find peace chasing your next high. So how do you come to terms with it, learn from it, and make the very best of your life going forward? In this video, I'll help you try to find a way. As I said earlier, there are 5 stages of grief. The first is denial and isolation. Second is anger. Third, bargaining. Fourth, depression. And finally, the fifth is acceptance. Not everyone goes through all of them in that order or experience all of them, but at some point most of us will go through those stages. Denial and isolation is a dangerous stage because it usually sets the tone for how you proceed through the other stages. Denial can be seen as a shock part. You just can't believe or accept that they're gone and you'll never talk to them again. There's a lot of grief and sometimes resentment that can be born in this stage. So how you get past the denial phase? For many, that phase doesn't end until they go to the funeral, if there is one, and seeing their loved one in a casket or their urn. That is usually the reality slap for those and helps you face the truth. For those who don't get that reality slap, their perception of reality is shattered, and it can also often cause a fugue state where you exist as if the reality of them being gone doesn't register, and if that thinking persists, it can become a psychosis where you exist in an alternate reality in your mind. The other dangerous part for many is the isolation part, either of your own doing or that which your only company was that partner who passed on, and you don't have a support system around you. For some, isolation can help you process things, but for most, being that we're social creatures, isolation tends to cause more harm cognitively than it helps. Second is anger. You can become angry at a myriad of things, depending on the circumstances. You can be angry at the person who died or committed suicide. You can be angry at yourself for not being there to help or not seeing the signs. You can be angry at God or society or anything or anyone else around you that you see contributed to that person's death. Anger is terrible thing. And it can also be a force you can channel for good. Um, as Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine said, anger is a gift. And it can be. Um, if you channel that anger, and it can be a driving force to make changes for the better, but it also can push you into dark places, so watch out. It's all about how you control it, and only you can control that. The third stage is the bargaining stage. This is when, in your own mind, you start trying to make deals with doctors, a deity, or someone to bring them back. And this stage is usually pretty quick because you realize the futility of trying to make deals of bringing back the dead. The fourth stage is depression. And depression is usually the pale horse rider for most of us. If not dealt with properly, we may never truly move past this stage. It can cause us physical and mental and emotional harm. How you choose to deal with this is what determines how you move forward with the rest of your life. Depression takes two forms: depressed mood and clinical depression. We all experience depressed mood from time to time. It can be painful and last a long time, but it's something you can usually get past without professional help. Clinical depression, however, is where you really should seek professional help, and it is beyond what I'm trying to do. Clinical depression is a persistent sadness that lasts for months, and at that point, please seek professional help. Finally, the last stage is acceptance. This is where you find closure and try to move forward. So, how does one deal with or cope with death? As I said, there's no one method. If you've never experienced loss, it can be an earth-shattering event for you because it forces you to accept that you are not immortal, which is the folly of youth and naivety. And I've seen a lot of people think that they're immortal and act in crazy ways thinking that they're not going to die. So finally seeing someone die usually is a reality check. So here is some ways that I've personally dealt with death. Because my family tended to be a bit older and have some health conditions, I grew up going to funerals. Whether it was my family or my mom's friends from work. I can remember my first funeral. I was 3 years old, and it was to my to my grandma's, and I can still remember seeing her in her casket and running around. I really didn't get the gravity of the situation, but I went through a lot with my mom and with my dad after that, and I don't think my dad really ever recovered from losing his mom. I didn't know her very well, so that attachment wasn't there. Uh, and I think that's probably a good thing for your first funeral, is not really have an attachment to that person. So you can observe how others are acting and reacting, and you can pick up clues, and through talking to people at the funeral and afterwards, you can get a sense of how they deal with loss. Uh, and with more exposure at funerals, the more you go to, the more you become desensitized. Um, I don't recommend going to strangers' funerals, but the more exposure, the more familiarity you develop with dealing with loss, and it's not going to be so impactful for you. Um, I'm not completely desensitized by death, and some deaths do still really impact me. Um, so I found this after my grandfather passed away. It's a quote by Rose Kennedy, and she said, "It has been said that time heals all wounds. I don't agree. The wounds remain. Time, the mind, protecting its sanity, covers them with some scar tissue, and the pain lessens, but it is never gone." And it helps me deal with loss, because pain is never gone. But you can move forward. So, through my exploration in the realms of psychology and philosophy, I have found personally enlightenment in the field of psychology, and also within the subject of Stoicism. I know that in common parlance today, being Stoic has a negative connotation because it is seen as unfeeling and unsympathetic, but that couldn't be further from the truth. What Stoicism teaches is that you're allowed to have feelings, but don't let those feelings control you. I know that's easier said than done. Trust me. I still let my feelings get to me, but I learn to take a breath and refocus and try not to let those inner demons out to play. It's not a good thing. So I calm myself and deal with those emotions in a healthier way. Um, and with that notion in mind, uh, controlling yourself, it's what Zeno of Citium and many other of the greatest minds in history, they fleshed out the philosophy of Stoicism. Um, and through my studies of Stoicism, uh, I kind of developed one of my own catchphrases, and that is, everything in life is temporary, even life itself. So, the more you accept that fact, before death comes for someone you love or cherish, the more you will anesthetize yourself or mitigate the pain you may experience. Since death is inevitable, You should always prepare for the worst. So when the worst does happen, your world will not be shattered. If you are interested, I can do videos on the Stoics and other philosophers and psychologists that have helped me and may help you. I can also make reading lists for you to do your own studies, which I highly encourage. Let tragedy be the catalyst for self-improvement in their honor. Other things you can do to help deal with the pain are write letters to that person that died. Keep them in your memory. And keep that memory of them alive. To always serve as a lesson and guidance for yourself. Write music, lyrics, or poetry for those same reasons. Create a piece of art or craft to immortalize your feelings about that person. Do something, anything creative, to channel those feelings in a healthy way, because we all know what happens when you don't deal with those feelings in healthy ways. You will soon follow that person to the grave. Another tip is seek out other people, a support system, either family, friends, or a mental health professional or support group. Most of us will greatly benefit from talking to others, just feeling it listened to and cared about. Often, those are the exact things that the person who committed suicide lacked. The more we feel cared about and in contact with those who mean the world to us, the more you decrease the odds of anyone committing suicide. The key thing to remember is that we all go through something. We all go through tragedies. We all go through our own stresses. We all deal with things in our own way. And at any given time, every one of us could be dealing with the worst things. And we have to keep that in mind as we engage with each other through our life and through our experiences. Deep beneath the smile and jokes and laughter of Robin Williams was a deeply troubled man. Behind the fame and fortune and the limelight of being on stage, people like Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell couldn't hold off their demons. With all the talent and love others had for one of my best friends, Bill Paxton, nothing could heal his deep wounds or quiet his demons. So, if we're all struggling, do your best to approach everyone with the same kindness and love you would want in your darkest hours. And with that said, I'm going to call this a video, and if you like what I'm doing and you want to support, I set up a Subscribe Star account. It's going to be on my Facebook page for this site, for this channel, and I set up a monthly donation of $4.99, but I may lower it, just so if you want to donate anything, I greatly appreciate it, because it really helps. And please feel free in my comment section, engage with me on my Facebook page, ask questions. If you need help, I'll do what I can to answer your questions in a timely manner, and do my best to help you through whatever you're going through. Never feel alone, because even though we may not know each other, and even if we do know each other, please come to me and I will do my best to help you. Thank you.